Alrighty. I'm not dead. I'm clearly fully alive. Yeah, if people who thought I was dead, how funny. That's a funny way of thinking it. No, I'm not dead, and I know I'm playing a game that pretty much is dead, so... Ew. Actually give him the... They actually gave him the faux hawk. When the hell did they do that? So I am on Marvel's Avengers. Yeah, I know. Playing this in 2025 is crazy. I get that from people, but let me explain myself before, you know, people just like go crazy. This game, of course, was shut down, I think, in 2022, 2023. I remember doing a video at the end of Marvel's Avengers, and that came back for it and shit.
Hey, you got a second?
And I understand people's hatred for this game. I understand it as of fact that the content after the story, when people are discrediting, like, that I really hate when it comes down to...
Must be fun going outside. I have gear for that. Not like I'll ever use it. I hope you treasure this piece of me.
Goddamn, I have a lot of fragments. Goddamn.
It was nice to have someone to talk to.
The story mode actually is like one of the most brightest spots about this game. It's what gave me so much hope for this game, because of the fact that the story was actually good. You know, it talked about Miss Marvel, you know, her rise, being an Inhuman, bringing back the Avengers and stuff, and kind of I honestly hate anything that has to do with the Inhuman shit. I'm gonna turn off matchmaking. So I played this game.
Recent intel
Love.
suggests AIM is running further illicit projects in Venture Ridge. I suggest we pay the town a visit to disrupt them, and remind Monica the Avengers are a force to be reckoned with.
I remember when this game came out, the story was the best part, which gave me hope, because the fact that if it had a great focus point in it, it had a great story. And then now we're also getting these newer characters to deal with AIM. But the one thing that this game sucked at was bringing in new content. The one thing people hated so much was how repetitive these missions were. You know, we weren't getting new missions every week, right? We weren't getting brand new events every week. It took them a while for people to get events. You know, I got unspent. What do you mean? There's no way for as long as possible. Oh my god. For as long as possible, she's got how many skill points? I got one. Never mind.
Now I kick your ass.
This game kind of had the ability to create a lot of great content and shit for when it came down to events.
Who's What's next?
Okay. And when it came down to making this content and not trying to keep content people suffice before this DLCs, they didn't do that. Instead, they kind of went in their own route. They didn't really do a lot of content. They really cared more about, they had to make money somehow, and they cared about the skins. Okay. And so, a lot of the times, people just farmed. Okay, people would just go on missions and farm up fragments and stuff. Bro, how do you? Oh, yeah, okay. Kind of forgot how to dodge.
Taking a lot of hits.
Okay. And so they just didn't bring out the content that it needed, and it got very repetitive and very boring and tiring.
You're finished.
Okay. So the game, people started hating. Okay. And so damn. This is how my damn. And so when they started putting in the content, like the DLC, people that didn't play the game a lot didn't care, right? It was too late for them. And people that were playing the game, just it wasn't enough for them, right? They wanted more. They felt like it just wasn't enough, right? Because the time between the DLCs was a lot, you know. And it's when you look at like Mortal Kombat, you know, a game like that, their DLC is all spread out. Okay, but even then, when you look at Mortal Kombat's not in a spot that it used to be, and so the hype for the characters, like some people are only hyped for certain characters, like Homelander, Peacemaker, Ghostface. You know, people don't really care for, you know, the Ermacs or the new Cybots and stuff. Right?
Hey, eyes up. Enemies ahead.
And so you tell me I can't get up there, damn.
Time to get to work.
I played this game for so long and I'm now just realizing that. Okay. And so what they needed to do was have a structure for it, and they came up with a structure way too late. But even then, it wasn't enough. Content was still slow. Like they started putting it in events, which was the right thing to do in my opinion. But even then, the events were repetitive. There weren't any new missions. They were just events for gear, right?
Who's next?
Alright. Like, they just weren't releasing any new content when it came for missions. That's what people wanted. Like, the events, again, help, but it didn't help for as long as they honestly hoped. Okay. The events were only a temporary fix.
We're up.
Okay? And then even then, they weren't making a lot of money. No one was buying the skins. People wanted MCU skins only, and they weren't making MCU skins.
Okay, strike Evo!
Okay? And it sucked. So eventually Square Enix had to cut away because it wasn't making money. And they needed to make some sort of money, so they sold the game and like a few other games. And in the end, it was either Marvel would be getting renewed pretty much by the company, and they would put money into it to help out, or they deemed it just too insufficient for money and dead. And so ultimately they called it dead. And that's why it's ended. But to me, I don't believe that this game is really an actual bad game. Like, I feel like if you have friends, you could play this game on a religious base, not co-workers, not just by yourself. You could probably have some fun, right? But saying it in a game that you can...
Another one down.
Right, this isn't realistically a game you could see people playing, like, every day of every hour, but I can see myself playing this game with friends 3 out of 4 days out of a week, putting in 4 or 5 hours. I could realistically see that because it's got that capabilities. Like, I enjoyed the live service aspect. I enjoyed the entire setup this game had. I just don't believe that the game ultimately worked out because of the fact that, number one, they ultimately failed when it came down to it, they didn't make a lot of money because they weren't putting in a lot of money. That's fucking bad. They didn't make money because of the fact that they weren't making DLCs, right? And because they weren't making DLCs that were made for money, they ultimately couldn't bring in the same amount of money as they needed. I ultimately felt like they probably should have made a season pass. Fair. Alright. If they made a season pass, they also probably would have made a lot of money back, because even then people would buy the season pass. If you pre-order the max edition, which I didn't pre-order the max edition, I pre-ordered the normal edition, you'll get the season pass. Now, but you can still get the season pass if you buy it. You can buy it separately and you get the season pass. It costs 40 to 50 bucks, right? Which we're including in this is an entire expansion DLC coming out around the same time Black Panther came out. The entire DLC for Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, unlocking those characters permanently right then and there. Or you could buy out individually, around for 10 bucks. 10 to 15 bucks, you gotta make it realistic. You can't just throw in 20 bucks because there's story out of it. Because characters like Jane Foster, Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man, they didn't come with story. They didn't come with an actual story. You got snapshots, and if you completed like a little mission that they had. Alright. And you would be able to expand it with a season pass for chapter 1, right? And then a season pass for chapter 2, costing around the same amount of money. Alright? And by doing that, you would ultimately come out with a lot of money, plus skins, and then you could buy packs, right, and have money for packs of MCU skins, Phase 1 skins, Phase 2 skins, Phase 3 skins, Phase 4 skins, Disney Plus skins, right? Some costing much less than others because, like, when you look at the Disney Plus skins, try to look at that more. When you're looking at the Disney Plus skins, they're gonna cost cheaper. Than the supposed Phase 1, 2, or 3 skins. Right? And then even then you can combine Phase 1, 2, and 3 with the Infinity Saga skins. Right? That way, like, that costing around 40 bucks, and you're getting all Phase 1, 2, and 3 skins. Phase 1 skins costing 10 bucks. Phase 2 costing 10 bucks. Phase 3 costing 10 bucks. Right? And then Phase 4 costing 10 bucks. The Disney Plus skins costing maybe 5 bucks. Which I know you're losing money at that way, but you'll be gaining more money that way than individually. And then you can just buy units, right? Of course, those units being used for the challenge cards and stuff. Dude, I swear, T'Challa, if you keep fucking running into me, dude, I swear. Right? Like, that's what I believe they could have done. They would have made more, they would have been able to make enough money and keep going on. Chapter 1 focuses on this. Chapter 2 focuses on this. And then you can start to incorporate other fucking shit so you can find a way to get out of the aim shit, because it's just like the aim shit just kind of just kept stretching. Like, I started thinking only stretch as far as you really can.
Destroy the station's power core.
fate. I can get there.
Nicely done.
Right? But if they start to focus on other teams or other enemies, like you can start focusing on Hydra. That's where you can bring in like the like in Arlem's or the Red Skull, or you can further go in on Crossbones, because he's a Hydra guy, right? He's always been really Hydra. You know, and throwing him into AIM is just like, okay, so Hydra's on a thing or something. You could go in deeper with the Loki storyline that you were building up with Thor. It's like they forgot about that, and that was from base.
Disable them. You need to access the terminal to reach the turbine.
Thought you stood a chance? Let's show them how it's done.
Right. And that could be like chapter 2, chapter whatever. You could start, and then each thing will lead to the expansion, right? You want Captain Marvel deals with the Kree. All right, here we go. You know, you start focusing on stuff that's with the Kree. The AIM has been trying to bring back the Kree and talk to that.
That turbine is finished. Well done.
There must always be a Thor!
Okay. The fact that I didn't die is crazy.
Disable the turbine. Excellent. Turbine destroyed.
Right.
The generator is no longer functional. If you can gain control of AIM's network temporarily, I can infiltrate their security system.
Right.
Prepare for battle!
And they would they would be able to expand on a story
AIM will
instead
attempt
of
to initiate a
stretching
shutdown
out.
protocol if they gain access to the terminal. You cannot let them. Beginning infiltration.
I will track you down!
That helps, thank you. I'm inside AIM's security system.
Baby, hell day!
Beginning
The fact that I was
infiltration. beginning infiltration. I'm inside AIM security system. I've breached AIM security network.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. But that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, if they were able to expand on this story instead of stretching out just the AIM story side of it, because I feel like AIM's story pretty much ends with, like, an Omega level threat. And then that way, every single time there's a new chapter, new
Venture Ridge's
missions
projects are all offline.
and
For
stuff,
now.
and then you can start working on that. You can expand on building off the Kree as an expansion, right? You can focus on adding new cities, and each new city has a new location, a new headquarters, a new faction, something like that, where you can talk to new people, you bring in all this, but they just didn't want to do that. They either thought that be way too much, but it's like, in a game like this, too much is what we need. I feel like doing not enough, that's hard. Like, to this day, they still focus, they still have it weekly release for these new, with these events, right? So, we still get cosmic threats, we still get, fucking the Wakanda one, still get the Red Room, still get, Tachyon Surge, like shit like that. We still get all of these cosmic ones. Um, and this way, we're able to, uh, continue playing the game. Like, it's still an online game. You can still play with your friends. I feel like this game's still fun to have play with your friends. You know, I just felt like if they were able to continue on doing this and creating these season pass and these chapter book type shit. Like chapter one focuses on AIM, right, and it ends with Claw and the cloning labs. Okay, that's step one. Okay, here's chapter two. Now we're focusing with AIM falling down, Hydra trying to make a return. You can still have it like they're not coming back, like starting new, like they're trying to make a return. Fallen Hydra member Crossbones. You go down that path where he brings back to life Arlim Zola, right, with the help of the Red Skull who was hiding, right, and they bring him back Hydra, and Hydra is trying to help bring back. You can still use the AIM storyline where they're trying to bring back AIM, but under Hydra rule, right? And then this way you can focus on bringing in Hydra-esque characters that help with that. Like starting off with Bucky, with the Winter Soldier, and then you can probably bring in the Falcon and stuff, and then end it with an expansion hero that brings in a brand new location in Germany, something like that, right? That has been a villain to Hydra, right? And start there. And then you can focus on Hydra's rule. You know, Hydra's not going to fall, but Hydra and AIM are now trying to bring back the Kree. And that brings us to the Captain Marvel side of it, where you can start to focus with characters who are just cosmically known. And that way, you know, maybe the Jane Foster type character would be brought in this way. You then bring in Captain Marvel, and then you could bring in someone else who is getting word of this. So another like known character, and then you could bring in the magical side with Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange and stuff, and then even then you could throw War Machine for shits and giggles, and Doctor Strange being that expansion hero, that being like chapter 4, right? This way you can release that. You're getting a season pass for these chapters for $40. These people are getting these characters. You have packs for these skins, so you don't have to waste. I know you're losing money with each skin kind of consisting like it's better off if I let me It's better off if I was able to, like... It's better if I show you the skins. Because I understand some of these skins, like, there are a lot of, Phase 1 skins. Except for the Hulk. Hulk only has 2 MCU skins. I think. I don't think he has an Avengers or an Age of Ultron.
I heard we're taking new recruits again.
And then you can also build off the Resurrection of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. But we'll start off with, Iron Man, since he kicked everything off. Like, I'm using one from fucking Phase 1, being Mark 2. But he's got a lot, right? Phase 1 being, here's an Avengers suit, which we were given for free. We have the Mark 5 suit, both of them being unmasked. So there's 3, 4 right here, 5 right here. Right? You have 5 Phase 1 suits from Iron Man right there. Okay? And then with Cap, you probably have... Alright, let's just go in Thor so it's like easier that way, I guess. Like I said, Hulk doesn't have any. He only has like 2. So with Thor, you have the Avengers. What's 1, 2, 3. I didn't even know they released some of them. It's pretty cool. Looks better in here. So there's around 4 there. And then Cap, I know he's got a few. Uh, 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's got 4 phase, he's got 4 phase 1 suits, and then Black Widow, I think, and Hawkeye. I know Hawkeye has 1 at least. He has an Avengers 1. So I'll check him Hulk just in case, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I'm pretty sure he has 2. One. One. She only has 1. Alright. And I know Clint has 1. Let me just check Hulk. Make sure he doesn't have 1. Holy shit, he's ginormous here. He only has 2, and they're both phase 3. Right? So I understand, like, that's a lot of skins that they're having to... put in for just a pack, and that pack being $10. Like, you could realistically do it for 15, right? But you can't realistically say phase 1 $30, because that's ridiculous. You don't want to go for the actual price. You want people to buy this, right? And you still want them to buy credits. This way they're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. They're buying credits, right? But they're also buying these suits, and they're not wasting a lot of money on it. This way people are going to see that and be like, okay, we're going to buy them. Maybe they don't like the phase 1 suits, but they like the phase 3 suits. Phase 3, you can up the price just because of the fact that phase 3 has a lot of suits for these people. Like, Clint, I know for sure, has 3 or 4 suits. He's got the Civil War suit, he's got 2 Endgame suits, And then he's got the Ronin suit from Endgame. Okay? Natasha literally has, you got the Endgame suits, and I think that's honestly it because Phase 4 includes Black Widow. But we got 2 for Black Panther, you have the rest of Caps, I'm pretty sure you got Civil War, I think Civil War's in there, plus Infinity War, and then you got Endgame. And then you got, of course, you got the Unmasked variation, same thing with Thor. He's got 2 Ragnaroks, he's got an Endgame, he's got an Infinity War, right? And then the rest of his are all Phase 3, right? And then Iron Man, the rest of all of his are pretty much Phase 3, besides Mark 42. Like, you got Mark 46, you got Mark 85, and then you got the Unmasked variations, then Mark 85 Damage with the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, you have a lot of these skins that you could do make them packs. That way you make more money. But they didn't do that either. A, they didn't think of that, or they just thought about it. They were losing more money if they did this because then individually people are not going to buy the units. But you don't have to do it right then and there, like make a pack. Like once you released all the Phase 1 skins you want, there you go. Make a pack. $15, $20. Here's this. $20 for 10 skins. People are going to see that it's cheaper as buying it. And the more people buy it, the more money they're going to make. Right? Instead of people wasting money on $20 worth of units for one skin, they're buying $20 worth of 10 skins, and more people buy it, the more they're going to realize, okay, well, they're not skimming us for money. And then people are still buying units for the challenge cards and the legendary skins, right? But then you focus money on for the season pass, making the season pass like $40, right? And that way they get all these characters for free, technically, then buy them on release. Plus, the story's free. And each character is going to have a story on how they're introduced, why they're here. Okay, and just instead of just throwing them in. Right? And by doing this, you can keep on doing that for every chapter. Chapter 1 being the 3 of them, right? And then the expansion being Black Panther. And then you're doing like a Hydra storyline with Bucky, Falcon, and fucking, I don't know, the Red Guardian, but he's just a mimic of Captain America, right? But then you're gonna have a mimic of everybody. Like we got a mimic of Thor, War Machine would be a mimic of Iron Man, right? So it's fine to have a Red Guardian. Right? That way we got a tie for Black Widow. And then the expansion probably being more of a Falcon than Red Guardian, or Red Guardian more for the Russia expansion instead of a German expansion, because there's not an outpost in the tundra, which is in Russia. So you do that, right? And you're not having to make a brand new map. You're just adding an outpost to Russia, right? And that way we can introduce probably Yelena down the line for a Red Room work with Taskmaster helping out with Dreykov. Like, all this shit could have been done well. So, if, they do want to come back down to this aspect and try to revive it, here are the ideas. Right? Like, I want a game like this because of the fact that this game was actually fun. But they weren't releasing new content. And if they were able to release content every 6 months, a new chapter came out. So, during the 6 months of this first release, you would have these 3 characters. Right? So, after 2 months, you got Kate Bishop. And another 2 months, you get fucking Clint. And after another 2 months, you get Black Panther. And then 2 months after that starts the Chapter 2 storyline. That being introduced to Bucky. That being introduced to Falcon and Red Guardian. And then 2 months after that, we get into the Kree storyline of Hydra and AIM trying to work together to contact the Kree and cause cosmic threats. That's where Mighty Thor comes in. That's where Captain Marvel comes in. That's probably when you get maybe a Monica Rambeau if you want to, but I don't really think that works. Just another cosmic character, cosmic superhero like Quasar, or maybe a Guardian of the Galaxy, right? And then you get the expansion with Captain Marvel, and then we have maybe you try to go even deeper and try to focus shit within New York. And that way we get Ant-Man back and War Machine. You go to the magical side, you get Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange and maybe a nicer Baron Mordo, right? You have all of this, but they just didn't plan on doing it. And even then, I think they just gave up with it. They weren't making money, and so they just kept on throwing money that they didn't have. And ultimately, it failed. Like I said, I feel like this game, personally to me, is in a perfect way. If a perfect formula for this game, well, a perfect formula for a game like this is right here. Just do what they didn't do and add to it. That's all you have to do. Okay? Actually, I'd rather have Bucky. Um, he does have 150, so I'll go Iron Man. Why not? That's what I think they should do. If they want to come back to and try to revisit a game like this, Marvel speaking, not Crystal Dynamics, not Square Enix, but Marvel. Like this, because a game like this could work, and then you could also have it tie into the MCU. You know, you don't need them. They don't need the voice actors to come in here and play them, right? But their stories would match up with the MCU, and then the MCU would be like, "Oh, this happened because of this," right? I don't know. I just feel like a perfect version of this game could exist. I just don't think they
Must be fun going outside. I
tried their
have gear
best.
for that. Not like I'll ever use it. All yours. It's a deal. I hope
Alright.
you don't.
Like, that's what I think they should do. Because ultimately, like I said, like, I think that I just feel like in the end they kind of gave up just because of the fact that people were shitting on the game. Like if they were to bring out content every month, bring out new missions with each chapter, you know, and then they kept those missions as more of like a mega level threat missions immediately, then like adding them later on, I feel like people wouldn't complain. You add new versions of Hive, you add new vault missions, right? With all these new updates, then missions wouldn't feel repetitive, right? If you were to create DLCs that gave us hours of gameplay, people wouldn't complain. Okay? That's my only issue that this game didn't do. But I have 203 plus hours. I have probably more hours on since being on this game. Okay? I don't feel like this game was an absolutely shit show as a lot of people
Access granted.
think that it was.
Oh, over here. Ah, perfect. Made that myself. Hope it works out for you. Oh gosh, if it doesn't, you let me know. Go. That everything?
So
Right out. Come again soon.
Like, I'm gonna try to get a couple of my friends on to play this, give it a shot at least, see what they like. Like, they're gonna have to play the story first, but even then, like I said, I think the story is the best part. But I would say just play the story on easy, because you're still gonna enjoy it. But this way, you don't have to feel obligated, and it doesn't piss you off that in order for you to play with your friends, you have to play the story. Like, when you already play, like, I guess you don't really have to. It just, like, I'm being serious on that. I don't think you actually have to play the story to play the war zone side of it. Like, I feel like you can ultimately just play the war zone, or you could just play the campaign. Like, but I don't know if like how it works. Like, if you can't play with Kate Bishop or Black Panther or Hawkeye if you don't play their stories, because that's how you unlock them. Or at least for me that was. So I don't know. But I'm making this because I also kind of wanted to try to find a way to come back to this. After I left off of I didn't do Spider-Man on camera for you guys. Spider-Man does have maxed here. Everyone here is maxed, even though they don't have 150. The goal was to always get 140. The reason why she doesn't have 150 is because of like reasons. Same thing. I think Thor's 147. Hulk's 143. She's 151. She's 150. He's 150. He's 150. He's 150. She's 150. He's 148. So there's like 2, 3 people. There's 4 people that don't have it's not 150, but I stopped playing streaming my stuff. I didn't have Spider-Man, and I had to manually get Spider-Man done myself. But I was doing a lot of these Marvel live streams, but now the fact that this game is kind of like no, it's not kind of, it is dead. I just feel like people can have a lot more fun if they have play with their friends. Like, you can still play online, you can still matchmake, but this is more of a game. Like, if you don't have any of your friends on, you don't have to play, right? But you can if you want to, you just don't have to. But for me, like, I can sit here and play this if I want to right now. Kind of don't want to, not because it's bad, just because of the fact that because I kind of just want to watch some TV and shit. But like, I can start working on Bucky. The only issue about Bucky is that his gameplay really does suck. Like, he is a lot of these people with Black Widow. I think I have her with her might really good. Her precision's 150, but like, I do rather use her as more of a melee type person. Like, unlike 244, 251, 255, like his might, Captain America does not. I use Captain America's precision mostly. I don't use his might. Unlike, when it comes down to like Thor which, damn, her might is a lot heavier. Like with Hulk, you want Hulk to. Okay, maybe might's not exactly what I think of, because, dude, there's no way I use Hulk as. Oh my god, I use him. Oh no, okay, I don't use him. This is not my final build. So I was about to say, dude, I'm like, a lot of this is just because of the fact that this is just what I ended with, thinking to 140. So, I'm going back to Bucky. But I'm gonna try my friend to play it. I'm most likely gonna have to buy it for him because I don't want him to waste his money to buy something that I won't play. So that's all I really wanted to really talk about. Like, don't I would just say this: don't let people like oh this game is bad because you know like have some friends. If you got friends to play this game and you're a Marvel fan, don't allow people to hate it. Like people who game a lot are just gonna shit on it because whatever. But the fact that the game's dead, you have really nothing to lose if you don't own it. Like I'm being serious, it's $10 is like a rental type shit. Like $10 to me isn't a lot anymore. You know, so like I will literally like go to GameStop. My no clear my closest GameStop. And I'm being dead serious when I say this, dude. I would literally go to my closest GameStop and buy it. It is $10 for on PS4. PS5 it's not available. PS4 it is. Right? And even then you got bowl moves and shit. Like a it's so cheap that it's like it could just be in your vault for all that matters. So yeah, subscribe because you never know when you'll see me again.